I'm very excited about this video and about this device that I'm about to show you. This is the Roland Bridgecast 1. It's an XLR interface with mixing controls, built-in voice effects, flexible I/O, and it's $179. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this. In my opinion, the Roland Bridgecast 1 completes the trifecta of audio devices that have released in the last month. We have versatility with the Elgato because it's essentially a stream deck. We have power with the BEACN, and with the Roland Bridgecast 1, we have value. And for creators to have this level of choice for the first time, super exciting. I'm gonna do a full comparison video soon, like next month, and talk about why I gave them each these scores. So if you wanna see that, make sure you subscribe. While you're down there, hit the like button. This video is sponsored by Roland, so I won't be doing a deep comparison video when one of them is the sponsor. That'll be for the next video. But let's get back to Roland. This is actually Roland's third device. They released the original Bridgecast back in 2023, and then about a year later, they released the Bridgecast X, and now they've released the 1. And with each of these releases, I've actually met with the team, either on Zoom or meeting at their office in Tokyo. They've really wanted to hear feedback on how Roland devices can bring real value to the gaming space. Which is great because for the last two devices, my feedback has been kind of harsh. They've just been really niche. Like the Bridgecast X can capture HDMI surround sound audio, and then they let you tweak that directional audio right inside the software. They showed me how to do that at their headquarters in Japan, and it was really cool. But it's a $500 device, and their software basically needs a complete overhaul. It meant I had a hard time recommending this to your average streamer when really this device is for audiophiles who want a serious immersive audio experience. So, back to the 1. They sent me this device a couple months ago, and third time's a charm.
めっちゃ好きです。楽しみです。
This device carves out a space in gaming gear that just currently doesn't exist. It just does pretty much everything you need an XLR interface to do for nearly half the price of the other ones. I'll show you. Let's go over that list of 4 things I mentioned in the beginning. First, the XLR interface. Right now, I have a regular SM7B plugged directly into this thing. And the SM7B, if you're not aware, is kind of the litmus test for XLR interfaces because the SM7B requires a powerful preamp to run properly. If this mic sounds okay, any mic will sound okay. And you can hear it sounds fine right now. The preamp built into this has up to 75 dB of gain, which is more than you'll ever need. I think I'm only using about 50 for this microphone. It's got a whole suite of plugins to polish up your voice, like EQ, compression, a noise gate. It's all there. And something that stands out is all those effects are processed on the device, which does 2 things for you. First, it means your PC doesn't have to process all the effects, so it can focus on frames in your game. And 2, it means that if you're plugging your headphones into this and listening to your voice back in your headset, you can hear those effects in real time. Let's jump into thing number 2. The mixing. The Roland team and I have spent hours on calls at this point talking about the mixing functionality and how to make that user experience perfect. And they've already made a couple changes based on feedback that I gave them. You have all your software channels that you normally have, and then you can assign 3 to the device itself. By default, they're the mic, the chat, and the game. You click the dial in the middle to toggle between the 3 channels, or you have something called balance mode. And balance mode is really cool. It combines the second and third channel onto that middle dial for faster adjustments. And this is really cool because the chat and game channels are typically the 2 that you need to adjust quickly in the middle of a game, and now you can do it without toggling and without even looking at the device. If you turn the dial towards the chat side, the game volume lowers. And if you turn it towards the game side, it lowers the chat. I think most gamers are going to use this in balance mode because it's so much faster to adjust, and so I gave them a slightly different idea. And Roland and I would actually love to hear your feedback on these 2 different approaches and which one you like better. I suggested that because what you're really doing is turning down the chat or turning down the game, that you treat each side like a separate fader. So if you want to turn down the chat, you pull down the chat side. And if you want to turn down the game, you pull down the game side. And then you hold the middle button to snap both faders back to their default level. And then use the sides on the side to essentially show the fader level. That just felt a little bit more intuitive to me. And if you agree, leave a 2 in the comments. And if you agree with Roland's original way of doing it, put a 1 in the comments and any reasoning you might have. And then in the next call I have with Roland, we will most likely discuss your comments. I also just found out these guys are going to be at TwitchCon this weekend. So if a budget device is what you're looking for and you want the chance to give them some feedback in person, I'm going to be doing it. I suggest you do it. And then lastly, these buttons are programmable mute buttons. The Bridgecast 1 also has a voice changer built in, and just like the effects we talked about earlier, it is processed on the device.
全体の声をしたら言っていながら変化を聞こえる。
And the way you control these is really clever. You have a button that toggles the effect on and off, and you can save up to 5 different voice effects that you can switch between by holding the button and turning the dial. You can also put effects on your game audio, and it works the same way. And you can use this to do things like quickly boosting footstep volume near the end game. And the last thing we're talking about here is a nice touch, because it's something that's missing from a lot of current gaming mixers, and that is the I/O. It brings back that simple line in, they call aux on here, and line out like you had on the GoXLR to do a simple 2 PC streaming setup. Or if you're on a 1 PC setup, connect your speakers to the line out. The USB can plug into a PC, or you just flip that switch to console mode and you can plug it into a PlayStation 5 or a Nintendo Switch. It's interesting that neither this nor the BEACN Studio can connect to an Xbox, so I'm going to assume that's an Xbox issue. And the last thing on there is for the people that would use this for a 2 PC setup and have this connected over USB to the streaming PC. That would mean your gaming PC is going into the aux port, and so that last switch changes those game effects we talked about to apply to the aux input and not the USB input. I think that was a nice little touch. That's a lot of stuff for $179. You can see why I'm so excited about this. The other devices that came out this month are really great, but there needs to be a lower cost option, and now we have one. I will leave a link to this in the description if you're interested, and I'm already excited to do a comparison between the 3 devices. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see that. Like the video if you haven't yet, and if you haven't commented, just leave your favorite emoji for engagement. And as always, happy streaming.